Messianco, breaking Major League en la ciudad del sol. Here in Miami, we know who's el campeón. Leo my team, yeah. Suárez on the field, always wearing they team. Como que ya es un win, the trio of everything, muchachos. La familia se escucha en los barrios. Esta camiseta pinky la llevan todos los guachos. Los rookies quedan sin comentarios. Messi ambetea, tiki-taki gol. El estadio Chase bañado en gloria y sudor. Aquí se ama y se respeta el balón. Florida es tu casa, acostúmbrate al calor. Estate listo pa' Messianco. Estate listo pa' Messianco.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special midweek episode of Messi & Co. I'm Ashley here, as always, with my incredible co-hosts Gian and Matt, and we're recording this Tuesday. So how is everyone's Tuesday? It is Tuesday,
I have to
right?
answer that question? Yeah, no, it is Tuesday.
Yeah.
It feels like the end of the world.
Monday's not the new
right
Friday.
now. Yeah, no, Monday's definitely not the new Friday this week. Not this
it.
week. No, ma'am.
We're in the bad place.
I have mixed emotions as far as how I'm feeling, because one of my teams sucks and one of my teams is really good. And if you know what I'm talking about, this is my team that's doing really good. My other team is in not
shambles.
We're in the bad place.
We're in a bad place. So, but other than that, I'm doing really good, and I'm just happy. I'm happy that to have this opportunity to be able to talk about the many things that are wrong with Inter Miami and how we think that this team can hopefully look better. There's always a bright side. There's always a little bit of positivity that we'd like to throw in there.
Look at this, Matt. He wins He wins an El Clasico with the Travis Scott jerseys, and then all of a sudden he's talking like he's like Mary Poppins. If this was a week ago, he would have been like,
this was not something I was expecting.
Gun up, like saying like, get rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him. Now he's like,
it's true. It's true.
Great.
If I would have lost, if we would have lost, and my team would have lost the Clasico, this would have been probably a more darker conversation. But I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling good, and I think that this should be a therapy session for all of you guys that are tuning in. Really, like you'll be able to kind of hear the tough things, but also there's always light at the end of the tunnel, guys. There's always
there is.
I know. So
no, you're right. It's true. I mean,
I just don't see it right now.
Yeah.
What is
I just don't.
We have to remember sometimes, like, what is the name of this show? Messi & Co. How lucky are we as South Florida citizens that we get to have? And I mean, I know it sounds kind of like, like ticky-tacky, but the truth of the matter is like, how lucky are we that we get to have the greatest player of all time play for us, who's still playing like an absolute freaking beast.
I actually want to piggyback off what you said, because it's funny, because I've also actually thought about that as well. Like, I want to pose this question to you guys before we get into everything that we're going to say today. If you knew that we were going to sacrifice some things, like going through these hardships with, and maybe certain coaches that maybe we weren't 100% aligned on, and personnel choices and this and that, would you, and again, we gotta, you have some silverware, would you have taken all of this that we're in now to be able to see and have the privilege of seeing Messi here in Miami and in the US? Yeah, me too. Matt?
No, I agree. Yeah.
That's insane. The ability after you grow up,
and he's still playing so good.
Yeah, like you've watched so many years of Messi in Europe, and to have that privilege to have him here, despite everything that some of us may see some of it as baggage and stuff, right? At the end of the day, we're experiencing something historic. That's the way I see it.
Amen. I agree. We're very lucky. And he is playing at a very high level still. Obviously, the pieces around him and everything else is more so the problem. And that's what we're going to get into today. But I think that was a great start to your point, Gian. Like Messi, like la cabra, right? So we'll take what we can. Matt, you were the one who, I mean, we all had a busy weekend, but you were able to watch most of the Minnesota match. And I caught parts of it. But Inter Miami obviously fell to Minnesota 4-1 in Minnesota, in what was looking like a really fun, exciting atmosphere, which is no surprise, obviously brings the heat. There was no Luis Suarez, and a game that seemed like it was out of reach for most of it. What did you see? And yeah, what are your overall thoughts? Hit us with it. Like, you can cook.
I don't even know where to start because I think Mascherano honestly misunderstood us when most of us were like, oh, okay, like Suarez should sit a game. Like he should probably sit a game. Like I think he misunderstood us because he sat a game, sure. But then like there was nobody there. Like there was nobody to take his place. There was no Obando. We didn't have a number 9. We didn't have a forward. And no, but like you said, the game was lively. I mean, like the stadium was packed. It looked like a really nice stadium, to be honest. And Inter Miami were pretty much in control for the beginning of the game, and then we instantly, in like the matter of seconds, minutes, it completely like flipped on us, and we just lost. We just lost it. I mean, we just weren't able to create. We literally we had own goals scored on us. We had Lujan in the back, like completely getting out of position. We had Jordi Alba were putting in crosses. It was just a very, very disappointing, a very awful performance from Miami, which is getting a lot of people riled up, which got myself very riled up afterwards in the fact. And it just goes to show you, even though this Minnesota team was a really, really good team, and I can't deny that, I can't take it away from them. It just it's like it's really, really hard to take a positive out of this game, and it's getting to a lot of people. It's not just it's not just the fans and stuff, but it's even getting to people like David Beckham in the media.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. Minnesota put out a tweet saying Pink Phony Club.
Great song, by the way.
Great song. Clever, but definitely probably like not 100% necessary, but more so than that. It got, David Beckham commenting, basically saying, show graciousness when you win, which is true, but also kind of like, oh, like this team,
it goes beyond banter though. Like to me,
in the head.
I was gonna say, what do you guys think about it?
I'm one that loves banter, and I think that there's a distinction between banter and just like classlessness and actual like not liking someone and having an issue with someone. And when I look at that specific post, it didn't seem like normal banter. Like calling a club phony, that doesn't seem like banter. Like there's nothing, there's you like what who was it that did the one against us about in the cold, like where they beat us in the cold?
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Like, I think it was Sporting. Cold night in Stoke or something.
Yeah, like that's banter. Like
yeah.
Like talk your crap. Like cool, but like there's pink phony. Like calling a team phony. I don't see any banter like behind that. To be honest,
they called us Pink Phony Club, and then they had like a tifo that said history over hype, and then culture over cash.
Yeah, that's not banter though. That's
and I'm like,
that's genuine, like not liking.
Dislike,
for some reason where like we didn't do anything. But it's like envy, right? Like it seems like an envious club, and it actually makes them look bad at the end of the day.
A lot of people on social media, I don't know if you guys have been seeing it, but a lot of people on social media have been disagreeing with this, and they think like this is totally fine. And the fact that Inter Miami, instead of getting butthurt over it, they should just like play better. I don't know.
I wouldn't. I've seen that, but I don't think it's that many people.
The performance on the pitch was like, I think disgraceful is like a strong word, but I would say like incredibly uninspiring, and whether that's due to personnel, tactics, we're going to get into that, coaching in a second. It was not a good performance. And when you don't perform well, like you get sometimes, crap talked. But I do think, to your point, Gian, it feels a lot more like people just hating the idea of Inter Miami than more like, club to club banter, and that's not cool.
You know why they do that though? Number one, it's envy because they weren't able to get the best player in the world.
Jealous,
any team presented with the opportunity to bring on Messi, and with whichever mechanism that makes that an actual opportunity for them, whether it's like with the contract with Adidas or whatever, any team would have jumped on that. Any team. So they then be like against it and say that it's all hype. It's so hypocritical. And the same thing with the fans that are behind it and say that Inter Miami cheats and all that just because they don't understand the budget and how that works and how how designated players work and TAM and GAM and all that stuff. Like it's ridiculous at this point. But at the end of the day, shut them up with the performance on the field, and I think that's what's most important at the end of the day. And I wanted to touch on something really quick about this game. Again, Mascherano says, that they had control of the game, but they get within a couple of minutes, things turn around real quick. And I think that's a problem that Inter Miami is having, not just in this game, but you go back to the game against Vancouver. Like, okay, in this game against Minnesota United, they go in. They get scored on in minute 68 and minute 70. The game completely changes in 2 minutes. Literally, in a couple of minutes, the game completely changes. They were 2-1 right before that. You go back to the Vancouver game. It was a manageable game, and then they get scored on in minute 51 and 53. Literally, 2 minutes apart, just like this game. And I think something's going on there with Mascherano, with the players, where you have 2 or 3 minutes of really poor play, and then the game completely gets out of your hands. And I think that's really a serious problem, that you can lack that much concentration, that much discipline in a matter of minutes, where a game seemingly looks like it's still in your hands, and out of nowhere, that's it. You're done. You have to learn from that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, when I saw the starting lineup, and then when I watched the part of the game, to not start Tadeo Allende as your forward, is
Or
crazy.
Obando.
But apparently Obando had a bit of an injury, and because Fafa had to pull out, they needed to make sure that they filled the bench, and so maybe the idea was that he was never going to play Obando because of his injury, which is fine, which happens. But you have someone who's played striker before in Tadeo Allende, and you have enough other forward players, i.e. Kremaski, Segovia, obviously Messi, Leo Alfonso, that you could still play in a normal, to play with the false nine when you've been struggling so much on attack, just seems like you don't have a good grasp of your players, and you don't have a good grasp of the situations you're in. I'll say this, and we're going to talk about it in this kind of the next segment, which is going to be kind of like Mascherano, like what's going wrong, and is he, what are the problems? I'll say, as clear as day, and time will only tell, but to continuously not play Ian Frey for Chelo Wengat is such an inherent bias and malpractice coaching that deserves to be called out. Because, and again, it's nothing against Chelo, and he does have good games and good moments, but game after game, Ian Frey is clearly a better option. He is a better option as an attacker. He's a better option as a defender. He knows the game more. He creates more chances. And when you need someone, and with the limited players, and the, knowing you have a very strong system around Messi and what he's creating, you need someone that you can depend on. And it's not Chelo, but because, and I'll say it, and if I'm wrong, I'll take it, but because of his passport, and because his name is not Ian Frey, and it's, it's not Chelo Frey, or it's not, freaking Bob Frey, he gets chosen every single time. And if you want to disagree with it and say I'm wrong and you can show it to me, that's fine. I'm open to it. But there's such an inherent bias right now on our team with playing international, specifically South American players over qualified players who have shown that they are worth it to play. I think Noah Allen and Yannick Bright have done an amazing job of forcing their way in by being so excellent. But if we're calling a spade, Ian Frey is the same level as them two. He's just not getting the same options.
I want to hear what Matt has to say about that, because he's talking about Argentinian players.
Look, I would always defend my boys, right? I'm always going to defend Argentinian players, but I think Ashley is right to an extent. I never want to believe, like, I want to be under the delusion that there isn't a bias because of Argentinian. I want to believe that. Like, I want to believe that there isn't a bias.
Me too.
Right? But I can see where you're coming from and how a lot of people can have this can have this idea, right? But because like Chelo, at the end of the day, as the biggest Chelo hater on the face of this planet, like I don't think he's a terrible player, and I can't sit here and be like he's a terrible player, but there's just more bad than good about Chelo compared to Ian Frey, who I just feel like keeps showing us the good stuff. Like Ian Frey is constantly giving us good performances. He's giving us things that we like, things that we want to see. He's flat, like he's flashy. He's good on offense. He's good on defense. Chelo literally scored an own goal, and like
Yeah.
it ruined everything. Like this, like it just ruined.
Back-to-back goals, right, for him?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. So take it how you want it, but it's everything is just it's just not right. And like you said, props to Allen and props to Bright for literally forcing their way into this team, because they're playing so good that Mascherano can't bench them for any good reason. But Frey has to be one of those players. Redondo has to hit the bench. I don't want to see Chelo and Redondo on this team anymore. Like, and that's just pure.
Or starting every week as your top 11.
Yeah, I need to see Chelo hit the bench. I need to see Redondo hit. I need to see Segovia replace Redondo. And if you want to play the midfield three of with Busi and Bright, put Segovia next to them. And then up top, like, why are you playing a false nine with Benja and Segovia there, like with you? Like, that's not going to help you. Like, that's not going to, who's the forward? There's no forward. Segovia needs to go into the midfield. If Messi's going to play up top, I'd rather you play Leo Afonso up there. Like, if Obando's injured and you can't play Suarez, play Leo Afonso, play Tadeo Ashende, play Fafa Pico. I know he had a headache in this last game, but play anybody who can play in that position, not Segovia and Benjamin Cremashi.
Yeah.
Like,
and I also
played without a forward, which is crazy.
Just without a forward was crazy.
And then he in the press conference, he was asked, like, how, like, you guys struggled, like, how was it playing, like, without a forward? Like, do you guys think, like, you lost because you didn't have a 9? And he was like, no. And I'm like, really? I'm like, you don't think a 9 would have, scored goals? And I don't know, like, I don't know. I can't. It's very hard to defend it. It's very hard to defend him right now.
You're asking way too much of Messi when you have a whole season, you have important things, and like he can't. You've said this before, Gian. You can't expect him to play 100%, or excuse me, like 150% every match and be like the one scoring 3 goals. Like, at this point in his career and how this team is built, like that can't be your only way of winning. It can't be.
That's literally the only way that this team can win right now, is expecting an outrageous performance from Messi, and that's not sustainable. That'll happen. He's always going to play good, I think. I'm yet to see a match where I'm like, Messi played poor. No, when people talk about Messi didn't play that good, what they really mean is he didn't have an incredible
wasn't like Superman,
match,
right?
Because right now, the way that this team is performing, the way that the personnel are being used on this, that's the only way that you can win. And going back to what I originally was saying, there are going to be games where he's going to do that. He's going to have an incredible performance. He's going to give you 1 or 2 goals. He's going to give you an assist, and he's just going to have an insane game. And he'll be man of the match, and he'll be on the MLS vote for goal of the week and play and all that stuff. Best 11. He'll do that. Then there'll be a game where he plays well, but he's just not that insane, of a level. And Inter Miami doesn't have a solution outside of that. And that's just not sustainable long term.
He's not playing like Messi.
And also, do you know what I think is the biggest issue with that? And we're not perfect by any means, but we have enough players where we should be creating more offense. We can improve and we can make some changes 100%. The roster can, but I think it is a coaching and a personnel choice issue right now, being totally serious, because there are enough players. Like, if Fafa can and has scored goals his whole MLS career, and every time he's got an opportunity to play this season, he's done it. And then he suddenly doesn't get to play. Segovia started good, but has, fallen off a little bit. Well, why didn't you play more of the other people? Yes, we just got rid of Robert Taylor and Julian Gressel, but Leo Afonso can score goals when you put him in. Obando, when he was available, can score goals when you put him in. Messi, obviously, moving people around, like, Jordi Alba, who does work incredibly hard every match for sure, in my opinion, has not been playing well recently. Yes, he got the assist Sunday, but he also made 30 mistakes that I saw. He just wasn't having a great game. And when those moments happen, you need to have your other side, or you need to have your right back be able to create offense and balance. And the one we have in right now isn't. And so when you're so reliant on two little things working perfectly, everything else fails. And you have enough talent in the team where you could be producing better. And so that is what I think is the most upsetting. And I think that's what's upsetting Messi too, because you have seen on his face the last few matches, starting with Vancouver, even when we won against Red Bulls last week, you see in his face, he is incredibly frustrated, because I think he is incredibly frustrated with the tactical setup and the way the team is not performing as a whole. It's performing as a bunch of individual parts.
Well, Mascherano's inexperience is showing a lot. And, you know, Mascherano's never been the coach for a first team. This is the first time. And you bring him into a team that has a lot of alphas in it, with Messi, with Suarez, Busquets, Alba, and others. You bring him to a team that has very high expectations as his first real team that he's going to be coaching, in a first division team that had a Champions Cup to fight for, that has a Club World Cup to fight for, that has limited time with Messi. So every season is a must win for the MLS Cup, and it's a lot of pressure on him. And I think he's a coach that's young, that was a really good player, but I think he's still trying to figure himself out as a coach. I think he's still trying to figure out what the tactics are that he can best lean on. I think he's still trying to figure out how to manage players. I think these are all things that he's trying to develop as a coach. I think putting him into this role so early on in his career was obviously not a good move for Inter Miami, but was also not a good move for Mascherano, because maybe it was good experience, but at the end of the day, this isn't a position for a coach that's learning. This was a position for a coach that could build off of what Tata Martino did, which was lead a team to a Leagues Cup, lead a team to a Supporter Shield, and then the next coach had to build off of that momentum and bring them on to win the league, to compete and get higher in the Champions Cup, which obviously Mascherano did, but I think the final was there for the taking in this case. And I think all that to say is that in order for you to be a good coach and for it to be successful, you need to have your team buy into your idea, buy into your plan, buy into your tactics, buy into the personnel that you've decided are your best 11. And right now, this team doesn't buy into that. I can, again, and I tweeted this before, I know of players behind the scenes, and I have exact verbiage of players that are not content with Mascherano and the players that he has put on the field. They're not content with not only the players that he's put on the field, but with the amount of minutes that certain players are playing. And when you don't have a team that can buy into your idea, there's almost nothing that you can do. There's really nothing that you can do. And that's what I think that I'm like, I don't know how much longer Mascherano can be here, because you can have the best players in the world on your team. If you don't find a tactic to match their style of play, and if you don't find the right positions for each of these players, it doesn't matter if you have Jude Bellingham, Messi, Trent Arnold-Alexander, and whoever else you want to name, in Haaland on your team. If you don't have the right tactics, the right personnel, and do things the right way for your team to buy in, there's nothing that you can do. So we can have Messi, we can have Jordi. At the end of the day, that's not going to matter. For me, what Mascherano needs to do is sit down and see if there's something that he can pull out to try to better this team. But it's the front office that needs to start really looking at this and seeing, is this going to work by the time it's too late? Because right now, all we have is MLS Cup that's realistic and important, right? At the end of the day, and Messi's days are counted. So right now, it's to me, it's early on, but it's still crunch time for me.
It is early on. It is crunch time. The leagues. This is a question for the Leagues Cup. If we win Leagues Cup, do we qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup automatically?
Yeah.
I think we do, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then Leagues Cup is also relatively important again, because other than that, I don't know what the other qualifications are to qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup next year. But
yeah.
And just to briefly talk about or briefly piggyback off what you were saying, Gian, the main thing I think that's like trumping everything is the faith, the belief, or the lack of faith, I should say, and the lack of belief that these players have on Mascherano. Because if you don't have a coach that you respect, if you don't have a coach that you trust, if you don't have a coach that you just necessarily believe in choosing the right team, choosing the right tactic, giving out the right instructions, right training setups, they're just not going to play to their full potential because this is the best MLS roster probably ever formed ever in the MLS, and we're not doing anything about it. That's a huge problem, and it starts with the coach. Yes, the players are not in good form as well, and so you have to give a criticism to the players as well. But I think primarily it's starting with Mascherano and his decision making.
You know,
Yeah.
really quick, sorry, with the players not being in good form. Look, go and look, search for highlights and the style of play and the way some of these players were on their other teams, like Tadeo Allende, like Velasco Segovia, and see how they compare now to when they came in.
All of
And
these guys were hyped.
yeah, but there was a reason why. And when you look at how they were, again, you can kind of be like, okay, you know, highlights are only going to show the best plays and all that. Okay, you can have a point there, but then pay attention more to how they're being used, where on the field they are, how the style of play is revolving around them, around these types of players, and then look at how Mascherano's using some of these guys. They're not being used in positions in which they played prior to coming here and where they found the most success. Velasco Segovia is not a winger. Velasco Segovia is not a guy that's going to be the guy that your focal point of the attack. He's a guy that needs the ball in his foot and is going to be able to create for you. Tadeo Allende playing so narrow here as opposed to giving him the ball with space where he can take a couple of guys off. That's different than what Mascherano does with him now, where he has him playing on an interior channel where he receives the ball and he's already got one or two guys on him where he doesn't have the space to be able to dribble past one or two people. Like there's a something that has a lot to do with what you said, Matt, again, the coaching and just putting these guys and using them the way that that best suits their skill set.
Put them in positions to succeed, essentially.
Yeah. That's what I meant when I said earlier, like, yeah, there's definitely a way to bring in attacking reinforcements for this team, especially since we got rid of Gressel and Robert Taylor. But this team has enough to be scoring and doing much more than they are. Like, don't think, these players have it in them. They're being played in a way that doesn't seem very suitable.
Right,
and
speaking about Yannick Bright, actually, you're the biggest Yannick. You think he's going to be in Italy soon? Like, and it very much could well be because he's that good. But think about Yannick Bright. I think it was 2 games ago, or 3. I asked Mascherano.
I knew you were going to say. I was gonna bring that up. Yeah,
I asked him about Yannick Bright, and I said, "Who do you see? Like, no, what was it? It was, what do you think? In which way do you think Yannick Bright brings the most? I guess brings the most to this team. Is it starting or is it off the bench?" And he said that he talked marvelous things about Yannick Bright. But he said that Yannick Bright has a hard time finishing games, which is why he doesn't play as much time. Do you want to follow up on that? You know what he said?
And Yannick Bright said 2 days later or the next day or whatever, I don't have any problems finishing games. I'm 1 year into the league and I'm very young. I'm very energetic. Like basically all the, to say.
He was saying he was playing 90 minutes before coming to Inter Miami. So
excellently, amazing.
And how hard is it for a player that if he, like Yannick Bright, that gets 20 minutes, 30 minutes one game, then gets 90, 70 the other, then gets no playing time the next. Like if the plan for Mascherano, because he even said
not player management.
We're working on getting him in rhythm, brother. If working to get him into rhythm is playing him a different amount of minutes every game and then no minutes, he's never going to get into rhythm. Never. Impossible.
And then you're not rewarding players who play the best. And that is what, like, again, by the way, I could care less about the nationality of the player. Meaning, if Cello or anyone was playing so great and they weren't getting their chance, I'd be just as upset. You know what I mean? Like I could care less that Ian Frey is American. I care the fact that like when Ian Frey puts together such great performances and Yannick Bright puts such great performances, and then you're not rewarded with it because of inherent biases or coaches trying to show X, Y, and Z, it's a huge demoralizer. And for someone, then like, why am I playing well if I'm not going to get rewarded for it? And you see it trickling, honestly, throughout the whole team. You see it in the way they're playing. They're not playing like people who feel like, I wouldn't say their spots up for grabs, but they're not playing like a team that's very hard. And that's, only certain players are trying and playing at full, and the rest of them, there seems to be a real lack of, of unity within the team, of a direction, of a play style, of what every player should be responsible for when they're playing, how they're supposed to attack, just miscommunication and just, I mean, this is a very silly way of saying it, but just like bad vibes. And what we started with and what the truth, the stone cold truth is, you don't have any more, you have no time to have that with Messi here. You have no time for bad vibes. You have no more time for if what maybes. You have, God willing, another season of him. Still hasn't renewed yet.
Yeah.
I think he will. I think we all think he will because of next year's World Cup, and that we will have another season of him. But you must do everything. There's no room for error. You've put enough good players on the team. I think you'll add even more. There should be a way better product we're seeing from this team. And that, to me, means that Mascherano needs to have an incredibly short leash and needs to either figure it out fast or get moved upon. And maybe it isn't his fault because this is, he was put into a very difficult situation. And if he's not up to it yet because it's his first coaching thing, I don't blame the guy. I get it. It's hard to do. But to your point, Gian, front office, change it now. You do not have time. There's no more time. He came in July 2023. We're now in May 2025. This isn't like Messi just came yesterday. Like, you need to get it done now. Period.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's it. I was gonna try to bounce off of that, but no, I mean, I can't say anything that isn't essentially repeating what you're saying. I mean, but like, I mean, then it brings up a whole other discussion. It's like, well, now what if Mascherano fails? Because we're not going to do well in Club World Cup.
Well, that's going to be what I was going to ask. What do we think is there a in-season timeline for Mascherano? Do you think, even if we all are moaning or whatever, do we think that in the front office's head they're thinking like we finish out the year and like he can help this team go to a MLS Cup final, or if we see a terrible like lose 10-0 in a Club World Cup, are they going to cut him then, or what do you guys think is realistic timelines?
Because like in theory, like if we take a step back and look at it and look at where we are right now as a club, in 11 games played, we've won 6, we tied 3, we lost 2. We've only lost 2 games so far in the league. Yes, we crashed out of CONCACAF Champions Cup, which was a huge disaster. That alone would be a fireable offense probably to any manager who had that expectation of winning it. After, we're not going to do well in Club World Cup, so we can't really judge him on Club World Cup after that. Leagues Cup, I think you can judge him based on Leagues Cup, because if you win Leagues Cup, we can automatically qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup again next year. So I think we should be taking that competition seriously now, especially that we're not in CCC anymore. And I think I mean, at this point, it's like, what other options do you have? Because even if we look at the timeline, if we talk about him being on a short leash and we say all these things about sacking him, it's like, who's going to come in? It's like, when are we going to get rid of Mascherano? And if we get rid of him, maybe after, let's just say Club World Cup, who are we bringing in that time?
I think that even though we realistically don't have a shot of winning the Club World Cup, I would like to see Mascherano in the group stage look like a competitive team. And even if that means even if it's losing every game in the group stage, I just want to look competitive.
The result doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah, no, the
it's
result
how
doesn't
we
matter.
play.
I want to see, because look, at the end of the day, you can look good in defeat. There are teams, and it's happened before, where you see your team fight. They may end up losing the result, but you can be proud of what you saw on the pitch. You can be proud of the product. You can be proud of what they did. They may have lost 2-1 or 3-2 or 2-0, but damn it, they looked good. They had chances on the pitch. They just unlucky. Their goalie looked really good, and we couldn't score. Like, okay, I think that's what I want to see from Mascherano. I want to see this team start to look good. Because even in when you talk about the record, you said we won 6, tied 3, and lost 2. If you really think about it, there's 5 games right there. Almost half of the games we dropped points in.
Yeah,
and that's not good. Even in some of these victories that we had, the team didn't look good. The team almost lost right at the end. Like, that's what I say about not just looking at like stats and not just looking at results, but also adding a bit more context to it and seeing what this team actually looks like when you're watching them. And many people, are now coming to this conclusion: the team looks bad. But I think if you look back at some of our episodes, like, we're like, yeah, the results are there, but this team doesn't look cohesive. This team looks like it's lacking a lot. Eventually, they're going to be, they're going to get shown for what they really are, and that ended up happening. Look at and I think I mentioned this when I tweeted this out in the Champions Cup. Like, I think that was a bit deceiving. You would have put us down the route of Vancouver, and we would have been out in the round of 16 versus Monterrey. We got lucky that we went up against teams that weren't at their best. We ended up playing Cavalier FC and still didn't look really good, which we should have.
So,
So, this team, for me, more than anything, more than the results, I just want to see this team look good. And that's why I point to the Club World Cup as we may get booted out of the group stage right away, but let's try to look good, at least be competitive, have an actual game plan where you can be like, okay, I understand what Inter Miami is trying to do here. They're sticking to it. They're competitive. That's what's most important, and that's what kind of my timeline for Mascherano. Do good. If you don't look good and this team looks really bad still, then you have to start to have that conversation after Club World Cup. Like, hey, Leagues Cup, we need to make sure we get, we need to make sure we get that ticket to Champions Cup, and we need to make sure we win MLS Cup. Because right now, do you guys agree that right now, with this team how it is, you're not winning anything, like nothing?
No, yeah, and you know how you can tell the most, looking at Messi's face, because he is so upset and he's frustrated, and I think it's a direct reflection of the fact that the team is just not putting a good product on the field. And you need him to be happy, and you need him to feel that there is potential and progress, and that everyone is playing to their best ability.
Do you think Mascherano understands that he obviously knows that not winning is not a good thing, but do you think that he actually understands that the reason they're not winning is because the tactics and the personnel that he's choosing, like there's an error?
No, I don't. I think it would be changed if so.
So I think step one is Mascherano reflecting, and whether that's him reflecting because it comes to him, or because Messi comes up to him, or Beckham, or Mas, brothers, somebody needs to bring that to his attention and say, brother, if you want this job, we're going to give you the opportunity to do that, right? Because there's still a chance to win stuff this season. The season's not over. Right. But you need to reflect, and you need to change the way this team is playing. Because the difficult thing is, when you listen to the press conferences, when you listen the post-game conference, when you listen to the training updates, when people are asking him questions and we're asking him questions, he's never taking. It never seems like he understands that he fudged up. It never seems like that, and I think that's the toughest part.
Because maybe he just doesn't want to admit it to the media.
Well, and I think he hasn't had to deal with professional managerial accountability yet, because it's his first job.
When you lose on aggregate 5-1 and you say you were competitive, that clearly shows you don't truly understand what's happening, and that's like step one is, him figuring that out and saying, I need to change things. And that's step one for Mascherano.
He even said that he gave up after the first 5 minutes. He was like, "Yeah, no, we're done. Like it's over." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like remember in the second half, he was like, "Yeah, we gave up."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, that's great.
He
I
just
love that."
sometimes, I think that's what we're seeing in this. Like in the beginning, I thought he was having good composure and good
Oh yeah.
maturity. But like everything else, there are things that go wrong and you get battle tested. And right now, I see the maturity slipping a little bit, and it's like kind of lackadaisical about everything. And I think the point, Inter Miami's front office needs to make it abundantly clear and needs to reflect in whether that's the change in tactics, personnel, or just the overall attitude of the team and the attitude of the coach, that like if you do not make positive changes, this is no like, we're not building something for the next 5 years. It's like you need to figure it out now or else you're gone. There needs to be
Yes.
a level of intensity.
100%. This isn't a project. This is
Right.
this is
This
a win, a win now. And for me, they need to figure out a way to win with Mascherano, because it seems so easy to say, let's sack him. Like if you're just thinking from a purely like a friend perspective, oh, this team sucks. Oh, look at this, look at that. Fire him, fire him. In theory, it's so easy, but in
So it's who you
practicality,
replace.
sacking a coach mid-season and bringing on a new one is not easy. It's difficult. It's difficult to find the coach. It's difficult. It takes time for a team to get to know their coach, the coach to get to know the team, to implement and find the tactics. That's also very difficult. So best case scenario is figure out a way to win with Mascherano now. Even if you don't agree with him, even if you truly want this team to succeed, you need Mascherano to figure out a way to win. Sacking the coach is like the last option right now.
Yeah.
Mid season.
So you need to see
I agree.
attitude and intensity up everywhere.
Yeah,
By
100%.
everyone.
Yeah. Agreed.
Agreed. All right. Well, so you said, how do we figure it out? Well, let's talk briefly and kind of finish this episode up with the next two matches, because we're at a place right now where, like we've all said, we need to see changes, positive changes on the field, off the field as well, in terms of just attitude, like I said, and just intensity, all of that stuff. But we need to see the performances improve now. We're about to have two incredibly emotionally charged matches. Tomorrow, we're playing San Jose for the first time, right? They're a brand new team. They're going to have a full house. They're very excited about their new team, and they're very excited that Messi is coming. So it's going to be a very intense game and a very intense atmosphere. And after a disappointing result against Minnesota, you are hoping that you see a bit of a bounce back, even knowing you don't have Luis Suarez, but showing something. And then Sunday, it's Derby. It's Orlando City coming to Inter Miami. Two teams that do not like each other, and is, in my opinion, a must-win for Inter Miami at home against your rival. So, what are we thinking about those two matches? These are not two easy ones. These are ones that you got to. This is like in the trenches.
And I mean, with San Jose, in my opinion, well, it's always going to be difficult playing away from home, right? And that's in any league, but especially in the MLS with all the traveling. I mean, in Miami, you're already there. Playing a team like San Jose, they have been in good form recently. They have pretty good play. I mean, like their best player right now is probably Espinosa, the Argentinian. So, and coming off this 4-1 loss, this is going to be hard. Like it's going to be hard bouncing back from that, but we're going to be expecting Inter Miami to be just like kind of hitting the ground running. Like we're going to expect something completely different. Like we can't go into the same mindset that we went into the Minnesota game into this game. We can't go with the same personnel. We can't go with the same tact. Like we can't do that. We have to hope that Fafa has healed from his migraine, and we have to hope that Obando has suddenly, healed from his hamstring injury or calf injury, whatever it is. But I'm not really worried about San Jose. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm more worried about the Orlando game because it's an in-state rival. It's the Florida Derby, the Florida Classic, whatever you want to call it. This is always going to be a competitive game. We have history with this team, and if we can't get results from these two games, like I don't know, like I don't know we're just not gonna have a good. Mascherano out. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say Mascherano out. If we're,
Yeah.
I don't know. Nah, that's extreme. But like you know what I'm trying
It's
to say.
not.
Like
I
it's like
honestly don't think it is.
we can't like it's just unacceptable. We can't
It's
lose
unacceptable.
to
Correct.
Orlando and we can't lose to San Jose. We can't lose those games. Like
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty
It's in the
serious
Club World
now.
Cup. You need to have the vibes.
It becomes that much more serious if they drop all the points versus these two teams. I mean, San Jose, it's an away game, and typically is a good result is leaving with 1 point. So for San Jose game, I mean, they're not the best team, they're not the worst. I think they're like
Right.
seventh right now in the West. They've won their last 2 games. Well, if you include U.S. Open Cup, which I'm not sure what lineup or roster they used for that one, but they've won 3 games in a row, including the U.S. Open Cup. The last 2 league games, 4-1 against Portland, and then against Colorado, they won 2-0. So they're in a bit of a roll for them, so they're in good form coming into this game. And then, as we say, it seems like every game that any team plays against Messi, they look like a team in their prime and then the best they've ever played. So any team wants to get up, they want to show Inter Miami who's boss. They want to show that having Messi on the pitch doesn't matter. So I can expect a tough game, but I'm more focused on Orlando, like you said, Matt. For me, the reason Orlando is so important is obviously the in-state rivalry, and it's going to be here in Miami. So at home, you're expecting a win, but more than anything, like with a team that's down on many aspects, right? A team that's still it looks like they're trying to find themselves, trying to find their best form, but it seems also like from a morale perspective, this team seems kind of down. To what Ashley said before, also thinking about how Messi has been reacting to some of these losses where he walks right off of the pitch, doesn't say anything to anybody, the way he's celebrating some of these goals with frustration as opposed to happiness. There's a big difference there. I think for everybody, a game like Orlando against your in-state rival, I think would be a giant morale booster and turnaround moment for this team. It can serve them very well, more so than anything that happens in San Jose. So this is
also sorry, quick correction. I didn't mean it was their first year as a team. I meant it was the first time Messi was going, is what I meant for them. So that's what I meant by like it's going to be the intensity of them seeing Messi.
Yeah. So Orlando, to me, got to be the most important game for this team that's going through this moment. It could be that decisive moment where it finally boosts everything for them, and maybe they look better from now.
Yeah.
And if I'm Mascherano, you know what I do? I use the San Jose game for a way to figure this team out, try some new things, see what works, and make sure that this team is ready to look good in front of Orlando. Because Messi, his first season with us against that Orlando team, he looked like he had been in that rivalry for years. Like he was pushing and fighting with people and all that. So Messi's going to take this Orlando game seriously. So you better make sure, use that San Jose game, figure the team out, and make sure they're in top form for that Orlando game. Because that, to me, there's no chance that you can lose that one. There's none. If you lose that one, it's DEFCON 5, and I don't know what happens after that.
Agreed. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think this was a good therapy session. We all got out our feelings. Obviously, we just want the team to succeed. We want to see a good product on the pitch, and we want, to keep Messi as long as possible. So these will be 2 really interesting games to watch and to see, how the team evolves, right? So we'll of course be posting about them on social media. Make sure you're following us on X at Messi and Co. We will have more episodes to come. Next week, we'll probably be doing our preview on the Club World Cup, talking about the group stages and who Inter Miami are playing and just, what that whole thing is going to be like. So it's exciting. It is always an exciting time to be an Inter Miami fan, but now more than ever is when we just need to see, we need to see the team move forward. And what I want to ask you guys as people who watch the show and participate and have really great soccer opinions yourself, do you think Mascherano is failing Messi? Do you think it's a tactic issue, a personnel issue? Do you think there's just a lot of things wrong? Do you think there are things that are right that are just being done wrong? Lots of ways to look at it. Is he failing him, and is there a way to bounce back from it? Can he unfail, right? Can they turn things around and get back on the positive foot? That's what we want to know. So don't answer it, Matt.
No, I'm not answering it. No,
we're gonna wait to see what
mentally
the listeners say.
Stressed out. Mascherano's stressing me out, man. I can't deal with it anymore. I know it's only been like this is a rough month that we just have to get through, and hopefully we can just get through these 2 games.
There's always tomorrow. Literally, there's a game tomorrow.
Quite literally tomorrow.
Yeah,
And that's like at 10 o'clock at night. That's like at 10:30.
I know.
So
yeah, I mean, this may have, there's obviously, we were having this conversation before the episode started, where when things are going right, we point out what's right. When things are going wrong, we think we have the responsibility to point out what's going wrong. And there's a lot going wrong with this team. But at the end of the day, I think that there's also, I'll start off the same way I started. I'll end the same way I started off the episode, with positivity. And I think that is still early on in the season, but it's becoming crunch time. And I mean, let's put some faith in Martin. Hopefully he can turn things around, because at the end of the day, that's what's in the best interest of this team. Not finding another coach right now mid-season, not him continuing to fail to prove anybody wrong. We need him to find the right way to manage this team. And if he does it right now, I think there's still time for us to win a couple more things this season.
Yeah, no one wants to be more wrong than me. Like, I hope I'm proven wrong,
Yeah.
and the team does amazing.
Yeah.
We're fans first. So,
all I'm saying is that if I stay up until 1 a.m. tomorrow and we
you fall
lose
asleep
like
every
2-0,
time we have a late
yeah,
game
because
now.
we're losing and the game's boring.
You are what we call a
And-
70-minute man. You around the 70th minute, we don't receive any more group texts
because
from you, and we know
the
it's
game is
you're
because
asleep.
the game is over. We're losing 2-0.
But we're like this.
I'm like, I didn't have my ice cream,
That's true.
and
Ice cream, yes.
like no.
Maybe we
So
can
that's why
celebrate.
I'm gone.
When we do a show next week, maybe we'll have 2 great games, and we'll celebrate by having some ice cream.
Yes.
Yeah,
I hope so. I need some ice cream to make me happy at this point. If Inter Miami can't make me happy, ice cream will make me happy.
That's true.
So true. All right, cool. Well, then, yeah, let us know what you think. Thanks for watching this episode. We enjoyed filming it. It'll be an exciting couple of days for this team. And let us know what you think. So, yeah, for this episode of Messi & Co., I'm Ashley. That is Gian. That is Matt. And we will see you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.